Hello, I'm Marc Wilson. I'm here today to resume a personal quest to photograph a live timber rattlesnake in the wild near the western New York and Pennsylvania state borderline. Today the quest is led to Blackwell, Pennsylvania, which is located just off of Route 414, approximately 20 miles south of Wellsboro. I have a pretty good feeling that today is going to be that day when some rattlesnakes are finally found and filmed successfully.
Well, on the way to Blackwell, a stop was made at a scenic vista to take a look. This is the Little Grand Canyon of Pennsylvania. It's approximately 60 miles long, and wow, what a view from up here. In the bottom of the canyon runs Pine Creek. Alongside it runs the Pine Creek Rail Trail. This is the area that we're going to search, but about 20 to 30 miles downstream. The trail sees a lot of activity from bicyclists and hikers, and a lot of rattlesnakes are seen right off of it. The place that I'd like to start out is at Rattlesnake Rock, about 30 miles downstream. And here we are, at Rattlesnake Rock in Blackwell, Pennsylvania. The access trail is in the corner of the parking lot over here. Let's head in. It's a hot, sunny, mid-August afternoon, probably about 85 degrees out. Hopefully a couple rattlesnakes will be found openly basking somewhere along the trail today. They actually don't like to be openly exposed to the sun, but being cold-blooded creatures, they need the warmth that it provides. If they can find a warm place when it's needed without being exposed to predators out in the open, they'll gladly take it. This access point has led directly to the Pine Creek Rail Trail, and Rattlesnake Rock is directly ahead. Before going out onto Rattlesnake Rock itself to take a closer look around, we're going to go up the trail a little ways where Rattlesnake Rock can be seen from the distance. There appears to be some rock formations to the left of the trail up ahead. These areas are always worth taking a few minutes to stop and look around. These types of places are great places for snakes to hide from predators. Another thing that they need is a place where they can cool down when they start to get too warm. This is how snakes regulate their metabolism. When they get too warm, they come somewhere like this to cool down. When they get too cold, they go somewhere where it's warm to bask. It doesn't look like there's going to be any rattlesnakes found right here today, but it was well worth stopping to take a look. There appears to be an access trail to the right up ahead that will lead to Pine Creek, which overlooks Rattlesnake Rock from about 100 yards upstream. Walking through here is not a very comfortable thought, but at least it's possible to see where my feet are being placed. A lot of times the rattlesnakes will lie right off of these trails, and they won't rattle if they think that you're just going to keep walking by without bothering them. To them, we are predators. We are too big for them to eat, so they have no interest in us. They're only going to rattle if they feel threatened. Otherwise, they don't want to risk giving away their position. And there it is, Rattlesnake Rock. We'll zoom in the camera. I sure can't wait to get out there and take a closer look around. It sure does look pretty promising back here from the distance. And now it's time to head in. Fasten your seatbelts, folks. A timber rattlesnake's bodily camouflage is exceptionally good in this environment. They blend in so well with these surroundings when they lie still that we usually won't notice them even when we're looking right at them. And this is why they often don't rattle when something too big for them to eat is walking down a trail. They don't want it to stop and notice them. Rattlesnake Rock has finally been reached, and now I'm going to take a little bit more time going through here. It's definitely not a good place to be in a hurry. These creatures have always been very fascinating, although they were once very hated and feared. A lot of time was spent learning about them before actively coming to a place like this to search for them. People have a natural tendency to feel threatened by, hate, and fear something that they don't know and understand, and education is the key to changing that to those who are open-minded. These creatures aren't meant to be feared, they just need to be given their space and treated with respect. The absolute worst thing that anybody can do in an unexpected rattlesnake encounter is to panic. When we panic, we are letting fear control us, and we're not thinking logically or rationally. Any sudden movements can cause a snake to feel like it's being attacked. Any snake is going to strike out and bite in its own self-defense if it feels like it's being attacked directly. The best thing to do in any snake encounter is just to remain calm and still and keep thinking rationally. I know that this is far easier said than done, but you must control your fear. All living things wish to keep on living, and snakes are no different. If it bites you, it's not because the snake is evil, it's only acting out in its own sense of self-preservation. Even though no rattlesnakes have been seen so far, this place was read about well in advance of coming here to look around. It wasn't given the name Rattlesnake Rock for nothing. At one time not so long ago, it was very normal to come here and find 30 to 40 rattlesnakes out here basking openly in the sun on these very rocks. Now we're not seeing any, and that is very unfortunate. There's plenty of cracks and crevices here for them to hide in and get some shade once they get too warm from the sun. Unfortunately, people have killed them all off. An old timer was encountered here a couple weeks ago, and he told me that he hasn't seen one here in 40 years. These rocks have become a very popular place for kids to come and jump into the creek and go swimming on a hot day. There is just way too much human activity here for the snakes. These cracks and crevices were once loaded with snakes, but now they are all gone. It looks like the search is going to have to be resumed several miles up the stream right off of the rail trail. On the rare occasion that a rattlesnake does find its way back to these rocks, the odds are high that some self-centered, ignorant asshole killed it just because he thought that he was doing the world a favor. Now the search is being resumed several miles upstream right off of the Pine Creek rail trail. Fallen logs like this are always a good place to look for rattlesnakes coiled up because it's good hunting grounds. They wait for a mouse, squirrel, or chipmunk to run across it for an easy meal. This stand to the left on the side of the trail is a very good indication that the search has just gotten pretty warm. The Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission puts these up to educate people about rattlesnakes. These creatures are endangered and thus protected. Unfortunately, people are people, and they will find any excuse imaginable to justify killing these creatures out of their own hatred and fear. The world has become a very modern place with all the cell phones and trail cameras out there. You always have to expect to be on film somewhere. If I catch you killing a rattlesnake, I won't hesitate to film you and turn you in. This trail gets a lot of activity from bicyclists and hikers, so the odds of seeing one on the trail itself are pretty slim, but this area to the side of the trail where there's some cover is a pretty good place to keep looking. It feels really awesome to be out here in this shade. It's very fortunate that at least this part of the trail has a canopy overhead to provide a little protection from that sweltering sun. This rock is definitely worth taking a minute to take a closer look at. Let's zoom in the camera for a closer look to see if there's anything hiding underneath there. It doesn't look like there is, so we'll have to keep looking. Yep, folks, this is quite a view. A moment will be taken to sweep the camera so you can all see what's being missed out on at home. The air up here is so clean and easy to breathe, and it's great to be outdoors on a day like this. Pine Creek sure is a pretty impressive stretch of water. It's really popular with kayakers and whitewater rafters, but also with trout fishermen. I'd really love to go fly fishing here. There's another fallen tree to the left here, which is well worth taking a closer look at, but it sure would be awesome to get down into that creek bed to look around, but there's no access trail down there, and there's no way I'm going to walk through that high grass to get down there. This rock to the right looks pretty promising, and a sign can be seen peeking through the weeds up ahead. Let's go see what it says. Yep, folks, I'd say that this is a pretty good sign that the search suddenly got pretty hot. The odds are really high that I'm being filmed by surveillance cameras right now. This area to the left looks pretty promising. It looks like a trail leading down to the creek. I'd love to walk down there, but there's no way in hell I'm walking through there without snake-proof chaps on my legs. I'll just have to stand here and zoom in with the camera for a closer look around. Mother Nature is very unforgiving. The hike has led a good 3 or 4 miles away from the truck so far, and there's a lot less traffic out here. If bitten, it's very unlikely that I'd be able to get back to the truck in time. These rocks to the left look like a real promising place. The further that the hike leads up this trail, the more confidence there is that something will be seen soon. This area of the trail is actually leading out of the protection of the forested canopy above. The area is starting to become more sunny and exposed ahead. No snakes are seen in the open here, but there still could be some hiding in these rocks. Snakes of all species are a lot easier to find near a water source because there's a lot more small game here for them to feed upon. They'll eat pretty much anything that they can swallow whole. Mice, chipmunks, squirrels, frogs, other snakes, you name it, these creatures are found here. This part of the trail is open and directly exposed to that sweltering sun. Boy, is it hot out here. It's a good thing that plenty of water was brought along. Here's another look at Pine Creek. It reminds me a lot of the Genesee River or Cattaraugus Creek, both in New York State. It sure would be awesome to get in there and do some fishing. This rocky area up ahead to the right looks really promising. I'll proceed really slow with caution. It looks like there might be one here. And there it is. You can hear it rattling. Right there it is in the middle of the picture. And it looks like there might actually be 2. There is. Alright, good deal. This fine specimen is an adult black-phased timber rattlesnake. It's probably about 3.5 feet in length. Judging by its rattle, it's probably an old rattlesnake. These snakes can live up to 20 to 25 years in the wild. Each time that a rattlesnake sheds its old skin, it gets a new button on its rattle with its new skin. The smaller they are and the younger they are, the faster they are growing. A young rattlesnake can shed its skin 3 or 4 times in its first year of life. As they get older, they're getting much bigger and they shed less frequently, maybe once a year. The bigger that they get, the more slowly that they are growing, so there's no need for them to keep shedding their skin. Over time, the buttons on the rattle will slowly break off one by one. That being said, it isn't possible to accurately judge a snake's age by the number of buttons on its tail. Stubby seems like a pretty good name for this fine-looking specimen. Right now I'm on the road standing only about 5 or 6 feet away from it. There's absolutely no fear at all. When this big fellow was rattling a few minutes ago, it was only trying to be gentlemanly like. It was just saying, "Hey buddy, I'm over here. I don't got no beef with you. You're too big for me to eat and I don't want to get hurt or killed either." It just wants to be left alone. They're actually pretty peaceful creatures. In reality, this big fella just doesn't want to be stepped on or handled. As long as I don't get any closer, it's not going to feel threatened and there's no risk of being attacked by it. There is roughly 33 known species of rattlesnakes in North America, and most of which are very small. They don't get much more than 3 feet in length. But the timber rattlesnake, the males can get up to 6 feet in length. The western diamondback is comparable in size, and only the eastern diamondback is bigger, and they can get up to 8 feet in length. Upon walking around and taking a closer look at these rocks, there's at least 5 snakes out here basking in the open, although there could be more in hiding. Stubby is the only snake that rattled so far. These other snakes don't even feel remotely threatened. They're just lying there as cool as the other side of the pillow and minding their own business. But make no mistake about it, they're well aware that a large predator is only standing 5 or 6 feet away. All snakes are cold-blooded creatures, and as stated earlier, they need warm places like this to bask and also shaded areas where they can cool down to regulate their bodily metabolism. Speeding up their metabolism will help a snake digest a recently eaten meal. It also helps the females to develop their embryos when they are pregnant. These rocks are also needed to help out when it's time for a snake to shed its skin, and a couple of these specimens do look like they are about to shed. You can tell because their skin looks kind of dull or powdery, and oftentimes you'll see a cloudiness in their eyes. This big fella can be seen sticking its tongue out. This is how they smell the air. They taste it with that forked tongue. Contrary to what many people believe, these fine specimens are rapidly declining in numbers and are thus protected and endangered in both Pennsylvania and New York State. In Pennsylvania, a special license is required to hunt these once a year, and in New York State, it's illegal to hunt, capture, or kill them at all. With a special hunting license, only one rattlesnake can be caught and kept a year in the state of Pennsylvania. It has to be a male that is over 42 inches in length, and that length does not include the rattle. This law was designed to protect the females and the juveniles. Anything over 42 inches long is generally a male, but the way to make it official is to turn the snake upside down and count the scales on its underbelly near its tail. 22 or more scales is officially a male, anything less is a female. It looks like Stubby is getting a little bit too warm and is heading off into the shade to cool back down a little bit. This other rattlesnake has been lying here quietly in the shade all this time. You can tell by its coat that it's about ready to shed. This one's only about 2 to 2.5 feet in length. Stubby can be heard buzzing again in the background because a couple bicyclists have pulled up. When you're out here filming snakes, people see the camera and they know what you're doing, so naturally they're going to be curious and stop to take a look too. This species of snake is very slow to repopulate. Believe it or not, the females aren't fertile until they're about 11 or 13 years of age, and they actually go a whole year without eating while they're carrying their embryos. That's pretty rough on the females, so they might only give birth 2 or 3 times in their life. They only do this about every 2 or 3 years. A female usually only produces 4 to 6 baby rattlesnakes or neonates in any typical pregnancy. She may only produce 12 offspring in her entire lifetime. A quick sweep will be taken with a camera to count whatever rattlesnakes are still here. There's 1, right there's 2. To the right, you'll find 2 more balled up together. And a little further to the right, we're going to find another one, but this one is a yellow-faced timber rattlesnake. It's laying in the grass by itself. It blends in so well that it's going to be very hard to see. Hopefully you're watching this on a computer instead of your phone because you'll see it a lot better. Its bodily camouflage blends in so well with this environment that it's going to be hard to see, but we will see it better in a minute.
don't feel threatened by us. Now,
I had been out here in the hot sweltering sun for a good half hour filming and studying these rattlesnakes when some bicyclists pulled up. And I'm glad that they did because I was getting ready to leave and this Kodak moment would have been missed out on. This here was the best filming opportunity of the day by far. There was far more black-phased timber rattlesnakes than there are yellow-phased, but they are the same species, so the difference in coloration really can't be explained. Black-phased timber rattlesnakes have black eyes, and yellow-phased rattlesnakes have yellow eyes.
Holding the pose very nicely. He's holding his pose very nicely for you.
I'm glad y'all came along. I might have left about 10 minutes ago because I got what I wanted, but this is something I would have missed out on.
Yeah,
it's always
pretty neat.
It's always
Look
nice.
how he has his rattle sticking right up.
Yep.
Do you see how the rattle's sticking right up? That's really cool. Oh, and the butterfly. Oh my gosh.
It was really awesome to be able to share this experience with somebody else who would enjoy it too. Although these cyclists weren't avid snake enthusiasts, they were at least open-minded enough to be enlightened a little bit and share in the moment with me. That made the trip and the moment all the more worthwhile. The odds are that there's probably a den pretty close to here. Make no mistake about it, these snakes are on the decline. We did see 5, but that doesn't mean that there's a lot of snakes around. At one time, you might have seen 40 or 50 here. On the way back to the truck, a couple more rattlesnakes were encountered right on the edge of the trail where there's some cover nearby. We'll zoom in for a closer look. Yep, folks, we have both a black-phased and a yellow-phased timber rattlesnake laying here basking in the sun. Neither one is rattling, so they don't feel very spooked by my presence, although I'm only standing about 5 feet away. The black-phased snake is getting a little warm, so he's just going to crawl off into the shade to cool down a little bit. And boy, that sure is a big one. He's probably about 4.5 feet long. That's definitely a male. And here is another look at these 2 fine specimens from a different camera angle. The day has definitely been worthwhile. The original goal of this quest was to find and film a timber rattlesnake as close to Olean, New York as possible, so areas that were sparsely populated with a low chance of an encounter were searched. The places that were searched in the past are somewhat close to Olean and are publicly accessible in both New York and Pennsylvania. Some of these places include Rock City Park, Allegheny State Park, the Kinzua Bridge State Park, and the Rimrock Hiking Trail near the Kinzua Dam. Even though the odds of encountering a rattlesnake in any of these areas is very slim, there has been a lot of reports over the years, and all these reports can't be lies. There has to be some truth to some of them, so it doesn't hurt to go and look around. The search was expanded to areas further away from Olean as these earlier attempts kept failing. Some of these other areas that were searched include Letchworth State Park, Sizerville State Park, and Cinnamahoning State Park. Of course, these other searches were failures too, but the rattlesnakes are more populated in those areas. One last rattlesnake was encountered on the way out, and boy what a day it has been. I actually encountered one here about 3 weeks ago, but it was definitely a different one than this. It's just lying there peacefully all by itself, and it doesn't feel threatened or else it would be rattling. If you look closely, you'll notice it has vertical slits for pupils in its eyes. In this immediate area, that's the sign of any snake that is venomous. The only 2 venomous snakes around are the timber rattlesnake and the northern copperhead. A non-venomous snake will have round pupils in this area. And here is the final snake encounter of the day. It's a harmless eastern garter snake about 12 inches in length. If you look closely, you'll notice it has round pupils for eyes. It was almost stepped on when I was walking by. This is the rattlesnake that was encountered here about 3 weeks ago. Man, that is a fine looking specimen. With a skin that beautiful, this fine specimen has had to shed its old skin fairly recently. It's finally time to close out this video. Hopefully you've been enlightened and learned a few things about these fine reptiles. If we can't get over our fears, learn to respect these creatures, coexist peacefully with them, and give them a little space, they're all going to be gone before very long. It was really awesome to finally be able to see a few of these out in the wild in their natural habitat and admire them while they are still here. I'm Marc Tex Wilson. Thanks for watching.